Welcome everyone back to Friar Talk. Hope your Mondays are going well. Right now we got the national championship going on. I believe Georgia is killing TCU. I have not been watching, but we're going to talk a little bit about the Padres roster tonight. Going to go over our top 5 teams in the league, and then we're going to wrap it up and we're going to talk about the NFL playoffs. So I know we used to last season. We did basically a Sunday live stream every week, and we would talk about like the upcoming games and stuff. Didn't really do that at all this year, but figured both the Chargers and the Niners are in the playoffs. And honestly, outside of Adam Engel and Brent Honeywell, there's not really a lot going on in terms of the Padres. So we are going to talk about the 40-man roster, kind of where it's at with the addition of these two guys and what they bring to the table. But yeah, let's start it with what Adam Engel and Brent Honeywell bring to the table. We can kind of do both of them at the same time. I think Engel's a lot more intriguing than Honeywell. However, Honeywell does have some really good stuff. So these are two guys that are going to be in spring training. Don't really know exactly how they're going to look, especially in terms of Honeywell. His numbers have not been good lately, but he's had like 4, almost career-ending injuries. So it's like it's rough with him just because you don't really know where he's at anymore. So Isaac Chase, what do you guys think about these two guys that we just brought in?
Adam Engels, I mean, neither of these guys are like championship. Neither of them are championship moves. They're just kind of to fill out the roster. Like, I think everyone gets caught up with who the hell is this guy? Or, oh no, this guy stinks. They're not stars. Not every team signs all the stars. Not every team has a star-studded roster. You're guaranteed to have guys that aren't very good. No team is complete from top to bottom. Adam Engel had an 811 OPS in 2020 with I don't know what his OPS plus was, but I believe it was like 110 or 120, something like that. Same thing in 2021. He had an 825 OPS, something like that. And then another 110 plus, 120 plus OPS plus season. So 2 really good seasons out of Adam Engel. I see Wolfpack said he could easily replace Trent Grisham if they decided to trade him to Miami. I think there's a lot of speculation regarding Trent Grisham right now because of this Adam Engel move, whether he's going to get traded or not. I don't think Adam Engel's a starting center fielder after what we saw last year, but that is just kind of like a 1-year stint after 2 previously pretty good years. But Trent Grisham also had a pretty good 2020, half and half on 2021. He had a good start to 2021 and a really, really bad second half. I don't know what's the deal with Trent Grisham. We all know Trent Grisham and Ha-Seong Kim have both been announced to have been on the table by Dennis Lin. A guy that we've talked about previously that might be on the table was Jake Cronenworth. Not on the table, not going to get traded there, he said. But a really speedy guy, nice, solid center fielder. If you want to do some sort of platoon where he faces the lefties, Trent Grisham gets the righties, assuming Trent Grisham is on the roster, then I think that's going to work out really well. Because I think Trent Grisham's kind of shown after this past year and a half, he might not be a full-time starter in terms of his production at the plate does not match his production in the outfield. So I think maybe a platoon partner will work kind of good with him. But you got someone who could steal some bases, who could play some outfield pretty well in Adam Engel. And then Brent Honeywell, I mean, what's there to really say? We haven't seen enough of him. I think this is one of those moves where, you know how AJ Preller does a lot of scouting in the Dominican, places like that. Well, Brent Honeywell most recently played in the Dominican Winter League and did pretty well. He had some really good innings. So I'm assuming, AJ just decided to take a swing at it and go after one of those international guys. Obviously, he's not an international player, but he was playing internationally. So I think that was one of those. That was one of those moves. We're gonna have to see what he's got. There's not too much analysis on him. I don't know what his baseball savant or anything looks like, but apparently he has really good stuff. He was a top prospect before, for I believe the A's or the Rays, maybe both. But he was a top prospect before, and it sounds like people are kind of expecting a lot out of him. I would definitely say temper your expectations. I think the hype is kind of wicked right now.
Honeywell is definitely like a reclamation type project. We do have the right pitching coach to do it. However, yeah, some of the expectations out there are a little wild. I guess you could expect him to kind of have like a similar season to what Nick Martinez did last year. Hopefully, he stays healthy. That's been the one thing with Brent Honeywell is he's had a lot of injuries. That is the main concern. Like, do you use him as depth as a starter? Because I saw some people saying, oh, he's a good depth piece because most of our other depth pieces are lefties. do you trust him in a starting role, or do you try to make the most of his stuff that he does have, which if we've heard is wicked, out of the bullpen? You lost Pierce Johnson, and that could be an easy guy to replace that guy right there, and you can have Nick Martinez focus on starting and kind of either flip-flop him if it doesn't work out, but at the same time, he can do both. But at the same time, it's his health. That's the main thing here. As long as he stays healthy throughout an entire season, I think we can consider that a win. It's a step in the right direction. As with Adam Engel, I think it's a very interesting conversation to have. Like, okay, can we platoon this guy? Like Isaac was saying, Engel versus the lefties, Grisham versus the righties, face them against what they're great at. But if Adam Engel continues to bat way better than Trent Grisham, at what point do you bench Trent Grisham? Or do you think, okay, how many at-bats in the season do we go with Grish as the starter until we know he doesn't have it anymore? Because last season, we all saw last season, we all thought, okay, Trent Grisham looks like he's coming back. His batting average would climb up around to 210, 220, and then he'd go through another historic slump that was just made me want to burn out my eyeballs. I mean, it was rough. Guy had, 636 OPS or something like that. It was in the 600s. We just need a center fielder that can hit at least a 750 OPS with good defense, and Engel can provide that. So I guess it's, hey, this is going to be your competition for center field. Whoever hits better throughout the off season and spring training may likely get the starting nod until it's their job to lose, basically. And if one starts to struggle, the other one gets replaced, and kind of so on and so forth until one of them figures it out. Hopefully that's the case, and we don't get, both of the guys that had basically the same season last year. Just we'd have a right-handed Trent Grisham instead of a left-handed Trent Grisham. Let's hope that one of them actually figures it out.
Chase, I cannot agree more to that second statement right there. I mean, you look at Trent Grisham's season last year, and you look at Adam Engel's, and Adam Engel was terrible last season. He had 579 OPS. He had a rough year. But then you look at the couple years before, and granted, it is limited at bats, but he had over an 800 OPS in both those years. So it's just weird because, like, you look at it in terms of what's the kind of the move. I don't think it's even a Trent Grisham kind of move like for him. I think it's more of competition for Jose Azocar. I look at it more like that. Like, I don't think I would be really surprised if they don't plan to go into the next season with Grisham starting, unless they were to trade him and then like make another move. But I don't think like Adam Engel is going to be like necessarily a platoon guy. I think he's more there for depth. Now, if it gets to the point where he's playing really well or something, that could happen. But like, honestly, like if you look at his numbers, like he's not very good. He's a career 631 OPS guy. And yeah, he looked all right in 2020 and 2021, but those were also his 2 seasons with the fewest at-bats that he had. So, like, who's to say he's not going to slow down? And maybe we see that. Maybe we see him start the year kind of hot, and then he slows down after that. But I just don't have a lot of faith in him. I think it's like he's a great defensive player, too. I will put that out there. I think everyone saw, like, the highlights of him, robbing home runs and stuff. Like, he's a good defensive center fielder. But it's just a little bit tough to have big expectations on him. In terms of Brent Honeywell, I see, who was it? Kyle says he throws a screwball. Yeah, he throws a screwball. Let me see what it was. I had it right here. He throws, where was it? I lost it. Well, he throws a screwball, and then I think he has a fastball, cutter, and changeup, I think, were his other 3 pitches. His stuff's good, but he's had like 70 ERA, 80 ERA the last couple years. It's really just because, and I think someone else commented, Isaac, you said it as well, but in Dominican Winter League, he's looked good. So, like, that's kind of the idea there is, hey, you're getting a guy that's pretty good, like in terms of the talent. But I don't think sorry, I'm laughing in the chat right now. I don't think these are any crazy moves. I think it's more of just depth and filling out that 40-man roster. I did want to bring up like just the overall 40-man roster with you guys, and I'll read through the Padres right now. We'll kind of talk about the different spots. Let's start offensively. I feel like there's just more there to talk about, and we'll get into the pitchers, but I feel like we all kind of know who the pitchers are, at least for who's going to make the roster. Not a lot of questions there. In terms of catchers, you got Campy, you got Nola, you got Brett Sullivan. Infielders, Matthew Batten, Xander Bogaerts, Matt Carpenter, Jake Cronenworth, Brandon Dixon, Ha-Seong Kim, Manny Machado, Iggy Rosario, Outfielders, you got Jose Azocar, Adam Engel, Trent Grisham, and Juan Soto. In terms of offense, do you guys think there's anything that the Padres need to add to their 40-man roster in terms of depth or anything like that?
Yeah, Chase put up this comment. The Blue Jays just got Brandon Belt. Yeah, I think it was like a year, $9 million. That was the guy that I thought the Padres maybe not get, but I kind of think a first baseman, depth first baseman, something like that, it would be pretty beneficial for the Padres. But the problem is there's not really anything on the market, anything good on the market that I can think of. I think there's one or two guys. I think Trey Mancini's still on the market. One more guy I forgot. Miguel Sano's on the market, but meh. But there's guys that are on the market that I think would help the Padres in terms of at least providing a little bit of depth. Obviously, the biggest concern right now for the Padres would be that fourth starting pitching spot, or fifth if you consider Nick Martinez a 4. That's going to be the biggest problem for the Padres right now. They don't have much depth at pitching. We keep talking. I guess you could say they have a lot of depth at pitching, but they don't have that really like a solidified fourth starter. You just have a bunch of 5s and 6s in Nick Martinez, Seth Lugo, who's a bullpen guy, and then a bunch of other ones. Yeah, like so many. Luke Voigt is also still available if you're cool with the vibes. But I don't know. I don't know what the Padres could benefit from. I think this is a complete roster. Obviously, at catcher, you got Nolan Campusano. It's nothing crazy, but look at the catchers all around the league. None of them really stand out. Who is there? Sean Murphy, Wilson Contreras. There's some good catchers, but it's not a very deep position. And then Jake Cronenworth shifting over to first. He's still projected to have a 3 or 4 WAR despite moving over because the shift, it has an impact on first baseman, a positive impact in terms of WAR. Ha-Seong Kim just posted a 3 or 4 WAR, 5 on Baseball Reference. Xander Bogaerts, Manny Machado, Juan Soto, Fernando Tatis, they're all stars. Trent Grisham, you can either look at it as Trent Grisham just had hopefully the worst season of his career and it can't get any worse than that, or you can look at it as that's Trent Grisham. I don't know. I don't know how I want to take it, but that's up to you guys. I hope it doesn't get any worse than that. But I can't really think of anything that the Padres really have to do in terms of enhancing the roster. I think kind of just filling in holes is what they need to do.
So what you call him? Didn't Carpenter play first for a little bit for the Cardinals? So I guess he could be considered a depth first baseman, but at the same time, now you have 2 lefty first basemen and you don't really have a right-hander that could just demolish left-handed pitching. So if you wanted to go that route, I think, maybe Voigt, maybe Trey Mancini, depending on what he wants. I think Trey Mancini is a pretty good depth piece. It gives you a good DH depth. It gives you good first base depth and an emergency left fielder. That's also why I kind of liked, I know I saw someone mention it, Adam Duvall. I know he plays left field. He would also be a right-handed DH, possibly play first if you want to go that route. But realistically, our 40-man is pretty set. We would have to DFA someone or trade someone like Wolfpack said. I think the team's pretty set. I think if you get even a slight bounce back here, like if Grisham can get to a 700 OPS and then continue playing the defense he has, we'll have Fernando back. We got Xander. We have more of a lineup that we did last year. However, our starting rotation is thinner than it was last year. So I guess it's comes and goes. You either got the offense or you got the pitching. I guess we can't have both. So I guess they're really banking on Jay Groom, or I don't know what they're expecting out of Ryan Weathers this year. I'm expecting Nick Martinez is going to be a full-time starter. Who else is down there for depth? And Seth Lugo. One of those, it's like a Brent Honeywell thing all over again with Seth Lugo. Will Seth Lugo stay healthy for an entire year? If you do, hey, that's great. But is he going to pitch like he does the entire year, or is he going to go through some major slumps? That's kind of been Seth Lugo's career. So outside of that, I think we need to sign Cueto. I don't think it's a want. I think it's a need. like we mentioned last time, Cueto is not someone you need to pitch in the playoffs, but he's someone that you need to pitch to get you to the playoffs. Just let Nick Martinez be the 5, and then have Jay Groom or someone occasionally make a spot start, or in case Martinez needs to, go to the bullpen just to, hey, you're getting a little taxed out there, go to the bullpen for a little bit. Hey, Jay Groom, come up here and make 3-4 starts. Absolutely be my. However, you need another starter. You cannot go into this season another starter down. When you look at the last 3 times you've been to the playoffs, and every single time you do not have pitching, you can have all the bats in the world. You still need pitching.
Yeah, so I brought up the 40-man roster in terms of all of the bats. In terms of pitching, I'll read through it real quick. But Pedro Avila, Michelle Baez, Jose Castillo, Tom Cosgrove, Nabil Chrismat, Yu Darvish, Angel Felipe, Luis Garcia, Jay Groom, Josh Hader, Tim Hill, Brent Honeywell, just brought him up, Ray Kerr, Reese Kinnear, Jose Lopez, Seth Lugo, Nick Martinez, Adrian Morahone, Joe Musgrove, Drew Pomeranz, Sean Poppin, Blake Snell, Robert Suarez, Ryan Weathers, Steven Wilson. So first off, there's a few guys that you could remove from the 40-man roster and you wouldn't be taking a hit just because right now you don't have to cut it down to 25 or 26 guys or whatever it is just because that's your spring roster. You can bring a bunch of these guys. So it wouldn't be a big deal if you do end up bringing quite of like who you're going to lose. But if you notice, how many guys do I bring up there that are like fringe starters? Like a lot. Like, let's see. Chris Matt, Jay Groom. I mean, some people even said Ray Kerr is like trying to potentially be a starter. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't think that will. It look like, I mean, I'd rather him just try to be in a 1-inning role. Like, let's get that down first, right? Because he has some nasty stuff. I mean, if he can get it controlled, I mean, I feel like that's a pretty valuable thing. Reese Kinnear, Seth Lugo, Nick Martinez, Adrian Morahone, like all these guys, like Ryan Weathers. So there's a lot of guys that's like, do you have faith in them being a starter? No. And there's like 6 or 7 names I just brought up that are going to be competing for those final 2 starting spots. I would, like you said, Chase, I would much rather have Cueto in that spot. I don't think it's because you said you think it's like a need, like you must get him. I don't know if I would go that far. However, if you don't get Cueto, I'm very confident that you're going to be at some point in the season, earlier, later on in the season, wherever it is, where you're going to be like, hey, we really need to add another starter. Because you're going to go into the season like that. So might as well just get Cueto now. And that's why I think that we like the idea of bringing Cueto in. There was something that said like the Padres asked, or like Cueto's price was a little bit too high for the Padres or something like that. I don't know. I mean, honestly, like they've been so willing to spend money. So I don't really feel like that's going to like be that big of an issue. Like, oh, a couple million. Like, I don't know. That seems a little bit weird to me just based on like what they've done. So I don't know how much I believe there. But I do hope that they bring in one more guy, and maybe they're just waiting to see if they can trade for a Pablo Lopez or someone like that, if that's kind of the thought. But all of a sudden, if you bring in Cueto, then I brought up the in terms of you saw the AirPod fall out. Yeah, in terms of the starters, okay, then you have Cueto as a 4, and then you have Martinez, Lugo vying for the 5, and then you also have Jay Groom on the back burner, Adrian Morahone, and all of a sudden it feels like instead of being like, hey, we're not that deep, all of a sudden you feel super deep just by bringing in one guy, just because there's faith that Cueto is going to be a high 3, low 4 guy that can give you 120 plus innings and potentially a lot more than that, potentially like 150 plus. So, I mean, I really like that idea. Also, another thing is I feel like you could potentially move a couple guys and move some money around. I don't know, do something to get the money to free up Cueto if you don't want to go into that tax, because Steve says that it's a 95% tax if we pass the 273 mark. That's what he said right here. So I don't know what they're at exactly right now. Do you guys know off the top of your heads where they're at right this second? I'm not sure, honestly.
No, but they're pretty close. I'm sure you could check like on Spot Track or something like that. Yeah, they're pretty adamant. They don't want to pass that mark. At least not right now. I'm assuming at the trade deadline, if the right guy becomes available, they'll be willing to do so like last year. But I think, oh man, and I don't even want to think about it because I don't think it should happen. But the Padres aren't giving up on Adrian Morahone as a starter. I think it's very realistic that you're going to see him maybe start a few games. I really do think that at the beginning of the season, he might start a few games. If we don't get another starter, if we maybe even if we get Johnny Cueto, let's say we want to do a 6-man, or let's say one of the guys gets hurt, or you got 14 games in 14 days, something like that. I think Adrian Morejon's going to make a start. Should he make multiple starts? No. But he should kind of be like in a Nick Martinez role similar to last year. You know? Like, I don't know how many innings Nick Martinez threw off the top of my head, but I think after, all the recovery is done, another full off season, maybe ramp him up in spring training and to begin the season, I think he should be able to approach the mark that Nick Martinez reached, if not pretty close. But I mean, Morejon's a stud, man. I mean, he's really good. He's got great stuff. He's shown it time and time again. And I don't think it's like a Ryan Weathers situation where it's like, yeah, Ryan Weathers has looked good, but look at these numbers. They show that he's going to fall off, right? I don't think it's like that at all. But yeah, I really like Adrian Morejon. They haven't given up on him as a starter. I think this is kind of the year to say, like, all right, this is it. If you're going to be a starter, you got to show it this year. And I don't think it's going to be determined based off, his ability. I think he has the ability to do so, but it's always the health, man. It's the health that kills Adrian Morejon. Really talented pitcher. I'm excited to see what he's got in store. But in terms of that whole payroll and salary, it's been said they don't want to pass 273. But they'll do it for the right player. They always do.
So right now, SpotTrack has their projected tax payroll at $244,500,000.
Is that counting arbitration guys though, or all of them?
That's what I was looking for right now.
Also, I second Joseph Vegas's comment. Yeah, I like Pomeranz, but that's 10 mil.
And even if you free up some of it, you'd rather have Cueto than Palm, right? Like, look at the bullpen. Cueto is probably going to impact this team a lot more over 162 games. I don't know. I'm with you there. I think I'd rather have, and I feel like someone would. I feel like there's a team out there that'd be like, okay, like we'll get prospects to take on his salary and potentially have him play well. That has a bad bullpen. Like there's always a team like that. You always see the guys that like struggled in the bullpen get swapped, and then like the salary just gets kind of moved around. That happens like every year or two. So, yeah. Okay, so apparently Steve says we're at 267 before the recent depth signings, and those can't be very much. Those are going to be like minimum deal. I don't even know if there's going to be that much guaranteed money, if really any guaranteed money at all in those. Probably Engel. I don't know about Honeywell, but
it's going to be very little.
Yeah. Miami could use a bullpen piece. It probably is.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, that's what I think too, man. I mean, he hasn't been healthy, and think about it. He hasn't been healthy, and the bullpen's been perfectly fine. They haven't really had any difficulty without Drew Pomeranz. So, and don't get me wrong, I think all three of us are on board when I say, like, dude, I really like Pomeranz. I think he's a stud. I really like seeing him out of the bullpen. I've enjoyed his time in San Diego. But I think it should come to an end. 10 million is a lot. And if we're approaching that threshold that we don't want to pass, then, I feel like there's a ton of teams that need a lefty bullpen arm that are willing to say, hey, 10 million for a guy that looked like this in the past is honestly pretty good. Let's get him.
Yeah. I just going back to what we were talking about earlier, just because I forgot we were talking about it because I was looking up the payroll. Please, God, do not make Morejon a starter. How many times have we had this conversation on this channel where we have gone through and looked at every single season he's had until 60 innings happen, he gets hurt. He gets hurt after 60 innings of being a starter. You guys try to make it happen. Guess what? He goes through spring training. Great. First few starts, gone. Tommy John. No. Just let him be the next Josh Hader. He's a young kid. He's got the stuff. He's got the fastball. His location needs a little work, but hey, that's something that comes with time. He's got the 3-pitch mix if he wanted to. He's got the fastball, the slider, and the knuckle changeup. You can argue, yeah, but that would also make a great starter. But only if he's healthy. That's the biggest gripe with Adrian Morejon is he could be in a fantastic starter. However, his health does not permit it. Therefore, you do not make him a starter. How many times does a guy need to get hurt before you guys realize, maybe making him a starter isn't the best idea? Yeah. And then I see a lot of people putting little trade acquisitions for Cabrera. I like the idea. I do not know how much it would take. He has a ton of years of control. He had a really good year, low to mid 3 ERA. It's gonna take a lot. It's gonna take a lot.
Yeah, and it got reported basically that he would probably cost a lot more than Pablo Lopez, which is where it's like, what are the Padres really gonna be able to give up, like, to get a guy that has ace potential and 6 years of control? Like, that's a lot. It's gonna cost a ton, so I don't really know if that's gonna work out. I see some other stuff though here about Palm. Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see what happens with Palm. I don't know how confident I am in his health. And then you bring up Morejon. I'll say this: I completely understand why the Padres keep trying to make him a starter. I get it. The potential, like, you look at him and you go, dude, if this guy's a starter, he's gonna be one of the best in the league. So they keep trying to force it, but, like, I'm with you, Chase. Like, at one point you gotta wave the white flag and say, all right, let him come out of a bullpen role and dominate that way, because it's still going to be super valuable. Pitch 1 inning sometimes, pitch 2 innings other times, stay under 6 innings. And if he can be a little bit more consistent, if he can locate a little bit better, because if you notice with Morejon, like, his numbers I don't think last year were that great. However, he had like 3 games where he got completely rocked and he, like, couldn't record an out. And then every other time he'd come out, he looked great. Like, it was very rare. It was few and far between when you would see him struggle. And if he struggled, it would completely fall apart. But, like that happens with a lot of young guys, and they kind of figure it out. So I still have faith in him. I see Omar says Morejon is the Lamet of this year. I mean, that would be sick, but that's kind of too harsh of a comp, just because we like Morejon a lot. We like Lamet a lot too, but it's the same issue, man. It's the same thing. Like, so I think that's actually a pretty fair comp. I don't want him to be the Lamet. We talked about them converting Lamet into a closer. We're like, do it. And then eventually they do it all late, and it's like, oh, he's coming out of the bullpen. Well, look, he sucks out of the bullpen. It's like, yeah, because he's cooked. That's why he sucks. Like, he's cooked now. Dude, don't let that happen.
He did pretty well on the Rockies.
Let's get some good stuff. He did. Yeah, he did do good on the Rockies.
Dude, Lamet was barbecue chicken, bro. With the Padres, at least, before he left. That is our beloved Dinelson Lamet, bro. We love that guy. And it's 2020, man. Oh my God, that was the best. That was the best pitching from a Padre I've seen. That was so sick. Had an amazing shortened season. So if it was a full season, I mean, he's barbecue chicken by May or June. But it wasn't, and for almost a full season, he was fantastic. That's our beloved Dinelson Lamet. R.I.P. to him.
One of the fucking first podcasts.
Yeah, that's true.
That Dark Horse Cy Young.
That's true. That was our guy. I mean, we love that guy, man. Chase definitely put us on, but we love that guy. But Morejon, I feel like you're right, Matt. Like, you look at the potential and you say, damn, this dude can be really good. You look at the injuries, you'd be like, damn, even if he is really good, he might get hurt. I think Lamet is kind of a fair comp. Morejon, yeah, his stats weren't very good last year, but, coming off Tommy John, having to come in right in the middle of the season, I thought it was a recipe for disaster. I think if you had like a breakout candidate, like a sleeper breakout candidate, I think Morejon is a really good one, but health kind of limits that. So I'd love to see I'm really excited for him to see what he can do, whether it's out of the bullpen. I would anticipate he gets a few starts, just because they really don't want to give up. Like, they're really adamant on having him try and start again. I don't really know what else to talk about the Padres.
We can do a top five teams in the league.
Chase needs to get some more.
Chase, you got one more thing?
I do need to get something off my chest. I swear to God, if they handle Morejon the same exact way they handle Lamet, I'm going to be livid. Oh, Lamet comes out last year. Oh, he has an elbow injury. Let's not get an MRI. Let's just say he has a strained UCL and give him 2 weeks off before he goes and rehabs it and injures it again because it turns out his elbow injury was worse than we thought. Who would have thought a guy with a history of Tommy John and elbow problems would have injured his elbow again and slightly tore it? But you don't want to get an MRI for it. Dude, I was so high on Lamet since we were in high school. I remember talking to Matt. He was either junior or senior year. Bro, this guy, Dinelson Lamet, he's going to be an ace. One of our first podcasts that we ever did before we ever hit YouTube when we were posting it on Spotify. I think it was Dinelson Lamet will be a dark horse Cy Young candidate for the 2020 season. It was like our first or second podcast. God damn it, dude. The Padres royally screwed that man over.
No, it's rough. It's a touchy subject for us when we talk about Nelson Lamet. Every time it's like, oh man, our guy. What happened to him? Oh no. So with that said, let's get into our top 5 because I think this is really interesting. So we made our top 5 list and we all basically had the same list. So our 1 through 5, Houston Astros at number 1. At number 2, we have the Atlanta Braves. At number 3, we have, was it the Padres at 3?
Yes.
The Yankees at 4, and the Mets at 5, correct?
Something like that. Either the Mets or I feel like Yankees, Mets, they're interchangeable. I mean, who do we have? God damn it. The Astros just won a World Series, bro. They're a really good team. Yeah, they lost Justin Verlander. I was getting grilled because I didn't have them as the number 1 rotation, but come on, the Yankees rotation's pretty filthy. Other than that, though, deep lineup, deep bullpen, deep rotation. They got it down. They got it down over there in Houston. I think they're going to be in the World Series again. If not the World Series, then the ALCS, because that is a damn good team, a damn good organization, and they're just winners over there. Number 1 after a 106 win season, a World Series championship. They're a great team over there, so they have to be number 1. Number 2, Atlanta Braves, and I think that kind of comes as a shock to some. I think that might come as a shock to some people because you look at the rotation, it's not as deep as the Yankees. It's not as, I don't think the Mets rotation is that deep, but people think their rotation is pretty deep. Yeah, maybe their rotation is not deep, but Max Fried's a Cy Young candidate each and every year he's out there. Spencer Strider has an amazing K per 9. Kyle Wright, wins aren't necessarily a pitcher stat, but to win 21, 22 games, you got to be doing something right. You got to be keeping your team in there at minimum. So Kyle Wright's right there. I mean, that's a pretty good rotation over there in Atlanta. Don't get me started on that lineup, man. That lineup is killer. That you do not want to see that lineup if you're a pitcher. Michael Harris, Sean Murphy, and they had like 101 wins without Ozzie Albies for most of the year, and Ronald Acuna not being the Ronald Acuna that everyone knows. They're going to be back. They just got Sean Murphy, Matt Olson. Vaughn Grissom isn't Dansby Swanson, but the Braves are going to tune him up to be pretty damn close. Austin Riley, MVP candidate recently. That's just a really good team over there in Atlanta. Then you got the Padres. Yes, our rotation is not that deep. We have a bunch of 5s and 6s trying to be 4s and 5s. But the lineup, I don't think there's a better top 4 in baseball. I mean, you got every single guy in the lineup projected to have a 100 WRC plus, 100 or above. 100 is considered average. So it's a really good lineup. I think your one weak spot is probably center field, and everyone's projecting a bounce back for Trent Grisham. Maybe not a bounce back. I guess you could say a breakout. And then Austin Nolan and Campusano, I think, will be solid behind the plate. We already talked too much about the Padres, so if you want to know why we have them as number 3, you can look back at other videos. And then Yankees over the Mets. I think I would have the Mets over the Yankees. I really like the Mets lineup. This is this is if they get Carlos Correa. If they get Carlos Correa, that lineup is really good. Correa, Lindor. I don't like him. Pete Alonso. Jeff McNeil, batting champion. Starling Marte, Mark Canha. I mean, it's a pretty good lineup over there. I really like the lineup, and they hit a lot of bombs. But you look at the rotation, it's like Justin Verlander, he's pretty old, but coming off of Cy Young, Max Scherzer, Hall of Famer. I think the 3 through 5 is a little something for them to worry about. Kodai Senga, a pretty injury-prone pitcher, projected to have like a 4.75 ERA, something like that. I saw something. Don't go off like on. I think it's not on Fangraphs or anything like that. It was something else I saw, but a model had him for like a 4.75 ERA. I don't even remember their back end starters, but they're at 4 or they're at 5. No, yeah, they're at 4. Yankees at 5. Killer rotation right there. I had them above the Astros for anyone who doesn't know why I got grilled. I had them above the Astros. Cole, Rodon, Cortez, Severino, and Montas. I mean, dude, that's a killer top 5. I think people are kind of forgetting how good Montas was with the A's. He was pretty darn good. And him as a number 5, that's a pretty deep rotation. Yeah, the lineup, I mean, you're gonna get carried when your best guy has like what was his WRC plus? Aaron Judge. Can somebody check? It was either one. It was
206. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's 206.
When you have a guy with a 200 in the 200s for WRC plus, yeah, you're gonna get carried. But Giancarlo Stanton,
also, when you have baseball as a tune for your stadium, so that Aaron Judge can break the home run record, it's gonna help you.
Very true. And you got the Little League porch over there in right field. But that's still a pretty damn good team. You know, like everyone's going to complain about Josh Donaldson, which I completely understand. But the shortstop situation should be handled this year. You got Stanton, you got Judge. I mean, I just think that's a pretty good team. 2 good teams over there in New York. So that rounds out our top 5. Mine, I guess. I don't know.
So I basically have the same thing as Isaac. Astros, Braves, Padres. I have the Yankees over the Mets just because of the whole Correa thing. If the Correa doesn't end up signing to the Mets, probably take him out of the top 5 and put the Dodgers at 5 over the Mets. But I think it's funny you didn't even mention Mike Soroka or Ian Anderson for the Braves when they honestly have a really sneaky good rotation. Soroka's just had some freak injuries, and if he goes back to what he was before those injuries, dude, that's a ridiculous 5. And Ian Anderson is depth as either bullpen or, hey, you know what, we're going to rock a 6-man rotation to make sure everyone stays healthy this year. That's absolutely ridiculous and terrifying. So the Braves are definitely up there.
And so if you look at the top 5 power rankings, or if you just look at the most recent MLB power rankings, the only thing that we have different is that we have the Mets basically bumped down 2 spots, and we have the Braves and the Padres moved up. And we've talked about this a lot, but the Mets are like, they're really good on paper. Like, they're probably higher on paper. MLB has them at 2. I think that's probably fair if you just are looking at it like, okay, what's their roster? But if you're going to look at it at what's going to happen to this team, their rotation is super like sus, dude. You have so many guys that are injury prone. And if you even read actually, it's funny because if you read the MLB Power Rankings article, they're like, yeah, the Mets are so good, blah, 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 blah. But if there's any team that could completely fall apart, it's the Mets because, you know, they have Justin Verlander, who's 41, 42. And he's been healthy, but like he's still 41, 42. Max Scherzer keeps getting dead arm. And Kodai Senga has had chronic shoulder issues. So that's your 1, 2, 3. That's really scary. So that's the only reason why I think we have them a little bit lower than most people. And it's not like we don't think their roster, if you look at it on paper, is really good. We do. We think it's spectacular. They were one of, I think, 3 of the teams that we had in both of our top 5 rotations and top 5 lineups. I think it was the Astros, the Mets, and the Braves, I believe. The Padres didn't have top 5 rotation, and the Yankees didn't have a top 5 lineup. Those are the other ones. But 3 of these teams are in our top 5. And like the Mets are really good, but you look at the injury questions there, and I think it's something to be concerned about. It's not really something that's getting talked about that much either. So a little bit odd. But anything other about these top 5s, or you guys want to talk about a little bit of football? I know I had some comments. Who was it? Devin asked he said he misses us doing the Sunday stream. Those were fun. The problem is we just work.
Yeah, we don't have time. Yeah.
We're not really able to. I would like to do them. They were fun because we'd hop out right before the games would start, and then I literally just flip on the TV right after that.
Yeah, they were fun. I think a good question's from Lizzie. Which Padre has the most approved? So I think real quick, I got to go with Fernando, just because he's kind of turned into somewhat of a villain. Not in our eyes, but in a lot of people's eyes. They're going to say, if he doesn't do good, they're going to say, oh, so his previous years were completely because of the PEDs, stuff like that. So I think he needs to have a good year to kind of prove everyone wrong.
I'm on board with you. However, you can't say that his previous years were based off of all PEDs because he was injured way too much for that to happen. Like, you can make the argument, but at the same time, Tatis missed so much time where if he was on PEDs for that, he would have been back from injury a lot quicker and probably hit a few more bombs. But yeah, he's definitely got the most to prove. He's got the most criticism during the offseason, during last year. Rightfully so. I mean, he made a lot of stupid mistakes. We've all ripped on him for his dumb mistakes. He's got to prove that his shoulder is completely 100% healthy. He's got to prove that, hey, I'm just as good as before the suspension. And he's going to have to prove to the Padres that, hey, you know what? I am a competent outfielder because I lost my job at shortstop because I'm an idiot. So, hey, it's all up for him to prove it.
And I'd even go farther to say I feel like Tatis has probably got the most to prove out of anyone in the league. Like, in terms of a young player, everyone can see the talent. Everyone understands that when Tatis is on the field, he's top 3, top 5 player whenever he's on the field. However, he's not been on the field that much. In his most complete season, he missed 30 games. Like, that's the thing for him is, can you have maintenance on your body? Can you stay healthy? Are you able to not get hurt? And I don't know. I feel like he has the most to prove, and I think it's a really good thing for the Padres. Like, if you want a guy to have the most to prove, you want it to be Fernando Tatis. You want him to, have a fire lit underneath him and just actually have like an insane monster year. So I don't know. I feel like he has a ton to prove, and I think it's really, really good. I mean, we all like Fernando. We're not like, we don't think he's a bad guy or stuff like that. I know a lot of people don't like him, but like, he definitely does have a lot to prove, which is kind of dope because if you're thinking about it, if Fernando's going out there and it's like, oh yeah, I put more effort into this offseason than I've ever put in before. I'm doing X, Y, and Z. And then he comes out and then we go, oh, look, this is the same exact guy that we saw, but even is kind of in it with almost a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. Dude, he could be better than he was in 2021. If he's better than he was in 2021 and you got Manny Soto and Xander hitting around him, that is going to be a scary, scary team. So I'm happy that he has a lot to prove, honestly. But yeah, so if you guys don't know, football-wise, Chase and I are Niners fans. Isaac is a Chargers fan. I saw people were ripping the Chargers in the chat. Isaac, every time we bring up the Chargers, people just blast you. So we don't need to blast Isaac, all right? Like, some people, and Isaac, you've talked about it before, but people are like, look, like, I hate the Chargers. And you even told me, you're like, look, dude, I tried to hate the Chargers, and then like all of my favorite players are playing, and I was like, all right, this isn't gonna work. So that's just kind of how it is. I don't think anyone likes Spanos. I don't think anyone in the chat or anyone probably lives in San Diego likes Spanos. I know Isaac doesn't like Spanos, but couple interesting playoff games for the Niners. I'll tell you guys right now, I'm so sussed out for this game. Like, I know Devin's a Niners fan. Chase, I don't know how you're feeling. I know that you should technically, like, it's like a 10-point line right now. I don't care, dude. I don't care. I feel like it's
trap game, bro. It's a trap game.
Anytime you play a team 3 times in a year, it's so rare that you win. So I'm always going to be sussed, honestly. But on paper, the Niners should kill them. Jags-Chargers matchup, I honestly just hope it's a Herbert, versus T-Law game. That would be sick.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, hey, bro, don't grill me for being a Chargers fan. Trust me, I tried. To not be a Chargers fan.
Grill him. Flame him.
Dude,
do it.
I tried, bro. I was sitting there, first game as the Los Angeles Chargers. For the first half, I'll tell you what, I was rooting hard against them, right? Phillip Rivers throws a deep pass to Travis Benjamin for a touchdown, and just not even, I didn't even force myself. Just out instinct, I started cheering, and I was like, well, there goes that. Like, I tried, man. Trust me. I'm a Chargers fan. I can't. I don't know why. I can't give them up. But yes, I understand if you're mad they moved. Yeah, I get it. There's only 2 San Diego Chargers left, and Joey Bosa and Keenan Allen. After that, they're all gone. But is what it is. I think this game is It's going to be good. I wanted to face the Titans because the Titans have not been anywhere near. Yeah. The Titans have not been anywhere near as good as the Jaguars. The Jaguars were like 4-7 at one point, and then end the season 9-8. They've been a really good team. Trevor Lawrence found his footing with Doug Peterson, and that was kind of our prediction for anyone who watched, any of our fantasy stuff, anything like that. We were kind of saying like we think Trevor Lawrence is going to find his footing with Doug Peterson because Doug Peterson has a pretty good history with some quarterbacks, and nonetheless, he finds his footing. They're 9-8. They win the division. Granted, Trevor Lawrence didn't do much in that last game that they won the division. But yeah, Keenan did not say very good things about San Diego. Granted, they didn't win, or the defense won their division. They got that fumble recovery for a touchdown. But for anyone who remembers, week 3, the Chargers played the Jaguars. They got smoked. I forgot what the score was, but I stopped after that third quarter because, like, what the hell's the point? They do have some really cool jerseys. But it was a game where like Justin Herbert just got broken ribs. Rashawn Slater just tore his bicep. Joey Bosa just tore his groin. Like, that was a pitiful week for the Chargers. So I think this week's totally different. Joey Bosa's back. Everyone's all healed up. My bad, bro. Joey Bosa's all healed up. It's I think the Chargers are going to win. I don't think it's going to be handily. I don't expect it to be like, 31-20 type thing. I think the Chargers are barely going to scrape one out because that Jaguars team got hot. And it's kind of like in baseball. It's not exactly like baseball where like the hottest team wins, but it sure helps to get into the playoffs pretty hot. So I do have the Chargers winning. As far as the Seahawks and the Niners go, dude, what was the line you said, Matt? Like 10 points? Bro, that's crazy. A division
10.
Game, yeah, it's a playoff game, but a division game should never have a 10-point line, because they're always so close. Like, yeah, the Seahawks got their asses kicked by the Niners, especially in this past meeting. But I mean, it's a totally different game. I mean, playing a team 3 times, if you don't adjust by that third time, you suck. So I definitely expect the Seahawks to adjust. I'm not saying the Seahawks are going to win. I fully expect the Niners to win. That defense, I think they're going to go to the Super Bowl. But I do have the Chargers winning. And I don't want to get too in depth about the Chargers. I'll get grilled, man. I come on here, anytime I talk about the Chargers, I'm like, dude, I got to watch myself, bro, because I don't exactly know how this is going to go. Like, what's someone going to say to me for being a staying Charger fan? So I try and keep it limited. Trust me, I try. But yeah, I got Chargers, Niners.
Okay, before you go, Chase, I gotta mention one thing. Isaac, do you know that? And I don't mean to pile it on. Do you know that the Chargers tweeted out "Go Dodgers" in the playoff series?
Don't come on, bro. that was like, I forgot what year that was. I don't think it was.
Grill him.
I forgot what year that was. But I know they've done it before. It was either 2019 or 2020. I forgot what year, man. But yeah, I saw that. I was like, ugh. My heart, like, bro, what is this? Oh, that shit pissed me off, man. I tried, man. Trust me, I tried.
I'm pretty confident in the Niners. I don't want to play the Lions. The Lions have gotten hot. They've won a few games where they shouldn't have won. Amon-Ra's low-key a monster. Jamal Williams having a great year. Aiden Hutchinson's proven to be really good. I still think we have the better offense. We have a better defense. Realistically, we should win. I think we should also mop the floor with the Seahawks. I know it's going to be the third game. However, man, we can't lose to the Seahawks, bro. We can't. I can't take another loss to the Seahawks. No, I can't do it. Hopefully Brock Purdy comes out and does his thing. I remember seeing him what a liked tweet that you put out, and it was about last week's game, which I unfortunately didn't get to watch, but it was like, oh, people were saying this was Brock Purdy's worst half of football ever. Then it was like 162 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. I was like, how is that bad? That's a really good half. I think people are just tripping. Hopefully CMC goes out there and does his thing. Kittle gets involved, there's going to be a lot of good things happening. 49ers got a lot going for them. I think they can make a pretty deep playoff run and kind of just throw up some questions for the future quarterback debate. If Purdy, takes him to a Super Bowl, what the fuck do you do with Lance?
Dude, Purdy looks good. I'll say that. And I don't know. I feel like I don't want to be biased. I'm a Niners fan, but like he does look really good, which is exciting. So I see a couple things in here. I want to go over all the games. So I'm gonna come at a couple people right here. Cobra says he has Chiefs versus Vikings. Bro, have you not been watching the Vikings lately? They've been looking absolutely. I got the Vikings losing this week to the Giants.
No, so do I. I really.
I'm putting that in my parlay this week. All right, I'm taking Giants. So Bills versus Vikings. Yeah, I mean, I think. Okay, I've seen some people talking about the Bengals going all the way. I think the Bengals are gonna kill the Ravens because I don't think Lamar plays. But the Bills and the Chiefs are probably. I have them as significantly better teams than the Bengals. And the Bengals defense is good, and the Bengals offense is pretty good, but they lost another offensive lineman. I don't know, dude. I just don't have the same faith I have in the Bengals as those other two teams. Like they could, but I feel like they're clearly the third best team in the AFC, where it's kind of a toss-up between the Bills and the Chiefs for one. Like I feel like there's a pretty big gap. So overall this week, Saturday, you got the Niners and the Seahawks. I already told you guys I'm sussed out. It doesn't matter. I'm going to be sussed out whenever the Niners are playing the Seahawks in any game. Honestly, like I've counted the Seahawks out way too many times. I thought they were going to be absolutely horrible this year. And then Geno Smith breaks the record for the Seahawks in terms of like Russell Wilson's passing yards record. Just a ridiculous year for them. So props to the Seahawks. I'm not saying anything bad on the Seahawks anymore. I've bit my tongue too many times on that stuff. So I got the Niners winning, but I'm not counting them out. Chargers, Jaguars, that's a complete toss-up. Bills, Dolphins, I think the Bills kill them. I already said I think the Giants beat the Vikings, but that one's also kind of a toss-up. I just feel like the Giants are a lot more physical. The Vikings O-line's super banged up. And I don't know how many people have started to realize, but the Giants D-line is really, really dirty. Like it is a completely stacked D-line. So they're really good there. Bengals, I think they win. And then I'll take the Bucks over the Cowboys too. I don't know if that one's kind of out there. The Bucks play them well. I think Isaac popped out. Yeah, the Bucks play them well though. So I like the Bucks over the Cowboys.
They are horrible.
They're playing better and they're getting healthy.
Year. Brady.
Okay, they had a horrible year.
Last game.
I don't know. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I'm doing a 5-team parlay this week. I think it'll be fun. But I'm not going to include the Chargers game. That one's
Isaac's not here. Wait, before Isaac jumps back in, I have the Jags over the Chargers. I'm not going to lie.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't even know if Isaac can hear
us.
I
would say 49ers, them, Bills over the Dolphins, Giants over the Vikings. The Vikings just have been choking. Every single win the last few times they've won have been miracles. Like absolute miracles. They shouldn't have won a few games. Bengals should kill the Ravens, and I'm gonna go Cowboys over Bucks. Yeah, and the Vikings had a negative point differential, but yeah, I think Cowboys over the Bucks. I just think that offense is too good to kind of like die out against the Bucks.
Bro,
there's no way.
But dude, look what's happened when they've played them, bro. Dak can't play against the Bucks defense.
Dak sucks against the Bucks.
It's too fast. They're too fast. They have flaws, but they play so fast. And their linebacking core is ridiculous. I don't know what it is, but every time, like, I just feel like it's a bad matchup for them. Like, if you put the Cowboys against, like, I might argue that the Cowboys are like 5th or 6th best team in the league. But I don't think the Bucks are there. I think they're a better team than the Bucks. I just think the matchup's horrible. And it's in Tampa too.
Is it?
Yeah, I like that upset. My 2 upsets are the Giants and the Bucks. And I already said.
I get the Giants.
Chase has Jags. I'm saying toss up. I don't even know. I have no idea.
Sorry, Isaac.
No worries. I don't care. I'm going Bills, Bungles, Chargers. Bills, I mean, dude, Tua might not even play. So, of course, I'm going with the Bills, even if he was playing Bills. Bengals Ravens, the exact same matchup from last week, except Lamar might play. Bengals just, I think they look too good at home. They're always really good at home, and they're not the same Bengals that always blow those playoff games or lose in the first round. These are the new Bengals with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, a very good team that I definitely think is going to give it to the Ravens. Chargers over the Jaguars. Like I said, totally different team from when we got drubbed. Keenan Allen's healthy. Mike Williams as well. I mean, he's not fully healthy, but hopefully he plays. O-line is starting to get healthier. Defense is starting to get healthier. I think this Chargers team will beat the Jaguars. Yeah, it's in Jacksonville, but also for anyone who doesn't remember that Week 3 game, they destroyed us on the ground. They killed us. James Robinson went bananas. James Robinson is gone. Travis Etienne has looked horrible. So I do think the Chargers will win that one. And then you go to the NFC. Niners over Seahawks. I also have the Giants over the Vikings. For anyone who doesn't remember that, what was it, Christmas Eve game? It took a 61-yard field goal for the Vikings to beat the Giants. So I'll take the Giants in this one. And then Bucs Cowboys, I'm also going to go with the Bucs. I think the Cowboys have looked really, really bad on defense. Dan Quinn apparently has an interview with some team here soon. I don't know how, because that defense has looked horrible. And then the Bucs, they're kind of getting a little healthier at the right time. So I got the Bucs over the Cowboys.
I just can't believe in the Bucs. Just can't.
I feel it.
Dude, okay. The thing is for the first time, Tom Brady was throwing the ball to Mike Evans last week.
Dude,
Godwin,
finally, bro.
Godwin's been playing pretty well. They're getting their O-lineman back. They're one of the worst teams rushing the football. Like they're so inefficient. If they can run the ball like even a little bit better, like dude, I don't know. And the Cowboys is just not playing well. Like I feel like
horrible, man.
Dude, also it's week 1, but you remember the week 1 game? That's how I feel like it's gonna look like. The Bucs only scored 19 points. But the Cowboys were awful. The Cowboys were just awful last week when they played a good defense in the Commanders. So I don't know, dude. And like I said, I'm really high on the Cowboys too. That's the thing. Like I think they would go far. Like I think the Cowboys would beat the Eagles, and I'm really high on the Eagles. I just think it's a matchup thing. Like, and so for the Bucs. Also, Chase, we also just watched our team beat the living shit out of the Bucs. They beat them like 35-7. So like, and that was like 2 weeks ago. So we also have that in our like, very recent where we're like, oh, these guys suck, man. I just think they're gonna be a little bit better.
I don't know, man.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You're frozen, but you're back.
Interesting. I'm gonna call it a night then.
Oh, there he goes
I'll talk to you
again.
guys later.
See ya, Isaac. All right, guys. I think we're all gonna take off. Fun stream. We'll see what happens. We'll see how our playoff predictions go out. Maybe next Monday we'll talk about them too, or next week we'll talk about them. I think we may be having another stream later this week. Not exactly sure which day that will be. But until then, have a great rest of your week, and hopefully all your parlays and bets hit on this wild card weekend. Have a good night, and we'll talk to y'all very, very soon.